a very key skill that a founder has to have is the ability to lay out a scenario based on thin slicing pieces of data that are relevant, opening a conversation with a presumption or a situation that their customer or prospect can relate to because it's what they're thinking about, worried about, spending most of their time on right now. When they hear that from you, you're immediately going to have some credibility because you're talking about them and what they're doing. So what's going to happen is their guard's going to be let down. Okay, and they're going to open up transparently about what they're dealing with, and you're going to start hearing things like, Ben, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what we're dealing with.
Welcome back to episode 3 of The Revenue Recipe. I'm Ben Wiggins, and I'm here with Kenan Rappuchi. Kenan, what's good?
What's good is business growth, baby. Let's grow some more startups and small businesses today.
We've talked about the first 2 pillars, strategy and systems. We've talked about how to develop a roadmap, how to set SMART goals. We've talked about how to integrate your CRM and the other aspects of your tech stack, run lean into that strategy. Now let's turn to skills. Where should we start?
Yeah, so skills. So this is the lesson, the hard lesson that founders learn really quickly. You can't do it alone. Okay. So when we talk about skills, we're talking about specific execution of the tactics and processes using the systems you have with humans who are motivated, goal-driven. The same as motivated, but they have goals in mind. Okay. They're extremely capable. That doesn't necessarily mean they're highly intelligent. There's a difference.
Okay.
As long as they're capable. When I say highly intelligent, what I mean is like, I have a master's in marketing, or MBA from Wharton. Right? I know a lot of MBAs from Wharton who are extremely intelligent, but they couldn't sell their way out of a paper bag. Okay. So that's what I mean when I say you don't necessarily have to be intelligent. You just have to be able to deliver results. Okay. So when we talk about the skills, first of all, if you're a launch stage founder, and you're not yet at, let's just say, $500,000, preferably around $1 million in annual revenue run rate, you're going to have to be doing pretty much all the sales early on. Okay.
Right.
So if you don't have experience selling, hire a coach, hire a firm that does. Okay. But integrate them as a part of your team.
Yes.
Okay? So when we talk about the skills component, that is the only way. Having the skills is the only way you can execute the strategies using the systems you've put in place to grow your business.
I'm an early stage founder. I don't have any sales experience. Where do I start?
Great question. First thing is you start with your market. Let's go back to strategy.
Sure.
Understanding your market. So one of the key attributes that we look for when we hire somebody at Sellerant is their situational awareness. And now I use that term very specifically. You want somebody that has that inherent instinct. They just kind of can read the room right out of the gate. That's not something that can be taught in school.
Yeah.
Okay. So I believe you're an athlete, as was I, right? We both share some athletic background.
Yes.
Generally, athletes need to process information quickly. Okay.
Yes.
That's an attribute that indicates someone has the ability to kind of look at a situation on the field, see where everyone's lined up, know where the opening is, know where the gap is, et cetera. Same thing applies to business. Okay. It's okay. Just because I can read a profile of a customer and I can read their latest press release and I understand what earnings per share means and I understand what industry segment they're in and I understand what their product set are, that doesn't mean you know them. Okay.
Yeah.
You need one more thing. You need that inherent ability to understand the situation and the person.
Okay.
So that's a skill that you have to develop. And the way you develop that, drum roll, all you have to do is pay attention. Holy shit. Pay attention.
Okay.
Okay.
To what? To what though?
Great question. Here's the problem. Not your phone. Okay. Don't pay attention to all the digital data that's flying around. Pay attention to the person.
Right.
Their role, their situation, their frustrations. Understand what the business is doing. Have the ability to anticipate what might happen next. Don't just roll in with I've got a marketing degree. I've been 20 years in content development. I've run my own agency. I worked at a Fortune 500 firm. I am a marketing guru. I hired a contractor a while back who had these kind of credentials. This person came in and immediately tried to take over. And I admittedly told this person that, we had had some struggles hiring the right, person to do this kind of marketing we do. And so I hired on credentials, and then this person came in and dramatically fell on their face.
Okay.
Because they didn't have the ability to literally read the room. They were outstanding in terms of the tactical strategies to build a marketing program, a content plan, a marketing strategy, experts at that. But you know what they couldn't do? Write content that would engage a prospect and get them to enter the buying cycle. So when you look at marketing, specifically content marketing,
Yeah.
it's not like there's not a lot of that going on right now and more, right?
Sure.
A lot of people say, I write great content. It's great content. Okay. What is the objective for content marketing?
Get people to engage.
Yeah. To read your content and engage with it, share it, comment on it, ultimately, generate demand.
Get into your funnel.
So when we talk about marketing from a skill set standpoint, if you're not marketing with the best of them, you will fail.
Yes.
So marketing skills don't stop at writing good content. So founders, small business leaders, listen up.
Yeah.
Someone comes to you with credentials.
Yeah.
Said, I drove 300% uptick in leads through my content, through my channels, through my SEO, through my customer, engagement. Have them prove it to you. Have them show you
Okay.
where they were when they started, where they ended up, and exactly how they got there. Have them show you the proof. If they can't show you the proof, it's just a fallacy.
Pixar, it didn't happen.
Yep. It's probably embellished. You know why it's embellished? Because they're marketers.
Right. Okay. So then what is that? If you say, all right, show it to me, like, are you saying how does a person generate that kind of proof?
I love that question. So the first thing I say is, okay, if I'm asked that question, someone says, okay, Kenan, clearly you have the credentials. These are impressive results and outcomes.
Yeah.
How did you get to that? Show me. What I would say is, what I would not say is, I studied the persona, studied the market, did a competitive landscape analysis. I used SEMrush to do the traffic and organic. I evaluated their blog. I gave my expert assessment on where they were missing the mark on their messaging. And I overhauled the messaging points to emphasize these three areas that were underutilized based on their offer. And I was able to deliver 50% more leads in half the time, and all those leads enter our sales cycle and increase revenue by 80%. Okay, great. That's one answer. The answer I'm looking for is what I did was some deep research into 3 buying trends in this industry. I learned these 3 things.
Okay.
And based on those 3 things, I anticipated that the next 3 to 6 months in this specific segment was going to be focused on adoption of technology or AI or aggregation of assets or mergers and acquisitions. So I took these angles and I noted that they weren't getting any real coverage out in the market. So I leaned into that as a differentiator. I tested it first in 3 channels. These were the 3 channels I tested it in. What I found was my hypothesis was 80% right. Here's where I was wrong. And I rectified that by putting this in place, which then put us in a position to be the first entry into confrontational and highly debatable topics in this market that got this much engagement. I'm looking for how they got there based on not just going through the motions of doing the work, but anticipating,
Seeing the frontier.
Reading the room, ton of content out there already, not just giving the stock answer of personalizing it. Everybody. That's not an answer. Okay. You want to understand how they arrived there and what they did to get there.
Yeah.
Okay.
An interesting thing that I've noticed is in a venue like this, on a video podcast, we can talk some trash. We can talk about people who are doing it wrong.
Yeah, we can.
And people will engage with that. However, you can't, if I'm talking about a trend that I don't like and some types of business doers that I would like to see stop doing business, I can't clip that and put it on LinkedIn, because on that platform, people have to self-identify when they engage.
You do. So this is a slippery slope. When we talk about skills to grow a business, you have to have marketing expertise. Mm-hmm. You have to have sales enablement expertise,
yes,
which includes lead generation, sales content, smart content.
Yeah.
And you have to have revenue operations expertise.
Yeah.
There are so many promising that they do this work and they do it well. And for all purposes, maybe they are. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not about the activity. It's about the outcome. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about building skills for our organization that scale and will help us meet our growth goals, you really want to understand someone's ability to describe how they're doing what they're doing and why, mm-hmm. and look for the ability to anticipate everything that might happen.
Yeah.
And that is a rare skill. So what most marketers, most agencies, mm-hmm. most lead gen companies, freelancers or fully managed sales firms, consultants, whatever, what they pitch is their credentials. Mm-hmm. What they pitch is their performance. Mm-hmm. What they pitch is mostly hubris. Okay.
Instead of a full and complete understanding of everything that's happening in their particular marketplace.
Yeah. So so the next time some fractional chief sales officer, chief marketing officer, consultant, growth accelerator, and I'm going to go ahead and name the firm because I don't have a lot of respect for them, but please, forgive me anybody if I hit a nerve. There's this franchise group called Sales Acceleration, XCELERATION, Sales Acceleration. They're franchise. They hire CSOs, chief sales officers, chief, VPs of sales, fractional consultants, bring them under their little moniker and their brand. A marketing group that does this is called Chief Outsiders. They're based actually in Houston. Mm-hmm. They're a pretty solid firm, but same model. So it's a collective of consultants. Mm-hmm. And they're all good. Most of them are good. They have experience. Mm-hmm. They have experience. But what they sell is their brand. Mm-hmm. And I'm a chief sales officer with Sales Acceleration, and I can come in and build sales models and hire your teams and shorten your sales cycles and optimize your offers. And I can do all these things. Mm-hmm. Okay? Show us how you do them. Mm-hmm. And then what they'll show you is a nice deck with pretty much a standard process. Mm-hmm. What they can't tell you is how they're going to do it, not the things that they're going to do, the basis around the strategy. And if they can't walk in telling you why you're already struggling to grow, mm-hmm. then they have no clue how to build your business. Because remember a couple episodes ago, we were talking about the target message, right? Mm-hmm. Worried about spending most of your time on when?
No.
Right now. So next time you get a pitch from one of the Chief Outsiders CMOs, mm-hmm. or one of the Sales Acceleration VPs of sales, fractional VPs of sales, charge mm-hmm. a ton of money, don't do much at all. And I say this from experience, not opinion. Ask them to tell you about why your business isn't growing. Mm-hmm. And if they can't tell you without having to dig into your CRM, mm-hmm. dig into your processes, dig into your pipeline, mm-hmm. if they cannot tell you, how the hell are they going to help you grow your business? Well, the first sessions are discovery. And discovery, what do you need to discover? You came to me. You're pitching me how you're going to do this. Where are my growth barriers? If you don't know, then you're missing the first cardinal platform. Mm-hmm. You haven't done your research into your market, and you don't know what they're thinking about, worried about, spending most of their time on right now.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me that. If you can't tell me that, how are you going to guide the growth for my business?
Right. And then the contrapositive, or I guess the converse of that statement is the inverse. I don't know. I forget all those logical.
Converse, inverse,
Contrapositive.
transverse. Yeah.
Yeah. Is that if you fully understand the landscape, I learned this from academic research actually. If you fully understand the landscape and you know what is at the frontier, what is at all of the different points of the frontier, the next relevant question becomes obvious.
Meaning?
Meaning if you know everything that's being done right now, if you understand.
All right, sure. Yeah. You know the right question. You know the answer without having to ask the question.
Yes.
Ultimately, that's what you're looking for when we talk about skills here in marketing and sales and revenue operations. You're looking for that inherent ability to be able to read the landscape. Matter of fact, a good analogy to that is, or a good reference to that is, there's a book by an author, Malcolm Gladwell, called Blink.
Blink, yeah.
He goes into this
Thin slicing.
thin slicing. Yeah, it's having the ability to look at massive amounts of data from different sources.
Yeah.
With different tones and tenors and context, and being able to thinly take the pieces, slice off the pieces that make the most sense, that help you get to the outcome faster.
Yeah, to look at something for 1 second and to say, that's it.
That's the piece.
That's the nugget.
That's the
right
piece.
there.
And that is a skill that you can develop. But those that don't have that inherent ability, this is where we use these assessments from a group in Canada called Self-Management Group. They've got this assessment called POP, P-O-P, Predictor of Performance, I think. Anyway, it's an assessment. There's a bunch of them, but this one is very useful to us because through its battery of questions, it has a large, massive database that it tells you where you sit on things like enterprising potential. Are you more independent? Are you more team-oriented? There's a whole lot of key points that lead to, can this person really think outside of what they see? Because what they see is only half of it. What are you going to do with it? So you can analyze, oh yeah, this is great. Okay, I understand this now.
Yeah.
Okay, understanding it is good. Okay, so how are you going to use that to grow my business specifically? So the ability to have those answers before you have to ask the question. And this is a tactic that we use regularly because we champion a lot of discovery calls and qualification calls. So we're very, very good at it. So what we'll do, this is very simple. Any founder can do this. It's not hard. Okay. You just need to know what to look for and what questions to ask. Okay. And what information that tells you where you need to be. So before you have a discovery call, do a Google search in the last 30 days for your prospect and their company and the industry. Okay?
Yeah.
And you have to, you got to thin slice a little bit. You got to take the data that you see and you have to come up with a presumption. So one thing you can look at is their LinkedIn page. When was their last post? What was it about?
Yeah.
Okay. Do they have press releases? If so, what was it about?
Okay.
Have they been a target for merger, acquisition, investment? Have they recently done, is there evidence of new customer growth? Look at the insights on LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Are they growing, contracting, or stable with their staff and headcount? Okay. So being able to take all this information and be able to make a presumption. So, hey, Ben, I see your business has grown by about 20% in terms of headcount. I suspect that's due to increased demand around the rebrand you pulled off in July to focus more on professional and financial services under a new business name.
Okay.
The challenges you ran into were probably a transition of your business model as well as your message. I suspect that it's probably starting to resonate, and maybe it's time to reevaluate your offers and your pricing. So if you start a conversation with that, your audience is going to do one of two things. And that's a skill, by the way. Okay. Your audience is going to do one of two things. You're completely wrong. Cool. I missed the mark. Tell me what you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because people like to talk about what they're dealing with, what they're doing, what their challenges are, what their wins are, what their losses are. And if they say, actually, it's different than that, help me understand, then you've opened the door with a presumption.
Yeah.
The flip side, and this is what we normally get. Yep. And I think you've probably heard that on some recent calls that we've had.
Yes.
Yep. That's exactly what we're looking to do. Remember, that makes perfect sense.
Yes.
Okay. So that's called affirmation. So a very key skill that a founder has to have is the ability to lay out a scenario based on thin slicing pieces of data that are relevant, opening a conversation with a presumption or a situation that their customer or prospect can relate to, because it's what they're thinking about, worried about, spending most of their time on right now. When they hear that from you, you're immediately going to have some credibility because you're talking about them and what they're doing.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen is their guard's going to be let down, okay? And they're going to open up transparently about what they're dealing with, and you're going to start hearing things like, Ben, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what we're dealing with. Or that makes perfect sense. Or you're right. Or that's right. These are signs of affirmation that you want early in that first conversation with a new customer prospect. When you get that affirmation, you've just established trust. You remember that movie Tin Men? About aluminum siding salesmen. Oh my God, it was a great cast. Danny DeVito was in it. Richard Dreyfuss, great movie. So these guys, they're shysters in Baltimore, like early '60s, and they're selling aluminum siding. They pull all these scams.
Yeah.
One of the sales reps talks about the scam he pulls, where when here's how you know you got them. You walk into their living room and you drop a $5 bill on the floor when they're turning around, and then when they turn back around, you pick it up and you go, "Oh, Mr. Wiggins, you must have dropped this $5. Here you go." And one of two things is going to happen. He's going to take it and think you're a hero, right? Or he's going to take it anyway and go, "Okay, this guy's honest. Okay, so either way, I'm going to listen to him." So that's like that first hook that gets you that credibility. When you hear affirmation, you've got credibility. You don't need to drop a $5 bill on the floor.
Right.
When you have affirmation, you have an audience that's motivated. That gives you the permission to deliver your pitch. Knowing when that affirmation hits is a skill that most people don't have. You know why? Because they're just focused on getting a pitch out.
Yeah. So where do you find these people? Because I know what my answer is, which is everywhere.
Well, I got to be honest, and this is an embarrassing admission. I've made so many missteps, and it's so ironic because I started my career as a recruiter, and I was really, really good at it.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
Okay.
I was a pro. I was one of the elite 1%. I was extremely good, and I'm proud to say that.
Okay.
Now I suck at it.
Huh.
So here's the problem, and I've distilled it down into the fundamental elements. The Sellerant business model is so unique and so differentiated in its market space, which is busy. To be successful in the work that we do for our clients, a person needs to have rapid cognition, okay, the ability to really quickly figure shit out, right, and act on it, and be able to do that effectively for multiple clients simultaneously.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, for me, that just comes natural. So, and I barely made it through high school, so I'm thinking to myself, well, it can't be that freaking hard, right?
Right.
Just pay attention, right?
Yes.
So I've tried, and I've had a lot of failures and several successes.
Okay.
So I put a lot of emphasis on the failures only because so we can prevent that from happening again. So I've hired senior level people that I've brought in because they've got credentials and they fall on their face within a month.
Yeah.
I've hired sharp, young, fresh graduates or maybe 1 or 2 years of experience. My success rate with those is about 50%.
Okay.
So in my model, where I've leaned into is I think the sweet spot is people with about 3 to 5 years experience that are ready to start making big money. And they're very goal driven, and you're looking for indications that they've progressed in their career. And so we're putting posts out on LinkedIn, Indeed. Those are the two primary, but mostly from LinkedIn connections. So I get a lot of outreach on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
A lot. And I'll look at profiles of people that look interesting, and I'll turn them around and start recruiting them if they're any good.
Young, smart, and hungry. Gordon Gekko.
Yep.
Any final thoughts before we close it out?
So I know this has been more of a conversation really around the skills pillar, and I want to bring it down to a practical takeaway.
Okay.
So every founder or small business leader can actually take something of value from this conversation and go apply it to their business. You can't do it alone.
Yeah.
Don't hire in your likeness because it's not going to happen. Okay. Hire for potential, but have a plan. So that plan is your roadmap. Okay.
Yes.
So what you're going to look for when you're interviewing someone who has the experience and the credentials and the skills to do the work that you have defined needs to be done by your roadmap.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Always hire to the roadmap. Probe for deep questions about how they arrived at that particular achievement, how they arrived at it. You want to know how they came to do what they did and why.
Yeah.
So what you're looking for is that ability for someone to anticipate what's going to happen next and take the important pieces of information around all the information that's available to them that will apply to getting results, not just doing the work. Doing the work is half the battle, okay?
Yep.
But it's not the most important part of it. It's getting the results. And for marketers, it's engaged target market prospects prepared to evaluate and make a buying decision. For sellers, it's meetings to presentations to quotes to wins. And that's the efficiency piece. So optimizing that is what you want to look for in a selling expert.
All right. Kenan, appreciate the insights today. To our viewers, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to go to Sellerant.com, and we will be back with you on the next one. I'm Ben Wiggins on behalf of Sellerant and on behalf of Proclaim. Kenan, appreciate your time.